Hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're talking about what the deku was in Fate Grand Order. So in the last video deku, well, after researching about who is this so-called wielder of the archer class, apparently this person was called, or at least so-called, the man in the iron mask. Because some people think that, well, he was some sort of vigilante, some say that he was working for All for One, but most claim that he had like a special type of quirk. Izuku investigated this and goes to the black market. Izuku defeated him in a battle and, well, takes his crest. After that, Izuku got in his brand new servant named Gilgamesh, archer class by the way, not the caster or the younger version by the way. Chloe, if you don't know who's Chloe, well, watch Prisma Elia. Actually, please don't. It was please don't. Ishtar and Billy the Kid. So yeah, and after that, after introducing themselves to Izuku, his brand new servants, Izuku is trying to find a suitable job for himself. Because even though Izuku has a lot of money, Izuku wants to earn it by himself instead of, well, getting it from, well, his late parents dying. So, after a bit of, well, researching, Izuku found out that UA has been, well, understaffed. So, Izuku decides to, well, work there. So, yeah. So, let's talk about what happens next. So, after Izuku finished eating breakfast, he starts going to, well, UA. While he was going over there, Izuku stumbles on something unusual. Izuku finds there something weird in the wall. Even though it looks like some sort of like artistic depiction of like literally like graffiti on the wall, Izuku recognizes that like this symbol. This symbol is supposed to be a seal, specifically a spell, which Izuku was kind of concerned because this symbol is supposed to be for like a resurrection spell. So Izuku just gets some like whatever thing that he can use for like scraping that piece off. Izuku uses it and starts scraping it immediately. So after Izuku does that, he starts going off to UA. Izuku, when he gets there, it's complete shambles. Like, seriously, in complete shambles. Like, Izuku sees that parts of the wall are basically destroyed. Izuku guessed that it was some sort of fight that, well, broke out, and that's why there was like several cracks in the wall. But Izuku just ignored it. So, after Izuku, um, well, passes on some classrooms, like passes over some classrooms. Some of these classrooms were pretty noisy. Maybe it's because, well, during the second grade, not second grade, I meant like 8th grade. But Izuku, well, being the proper child that he is, well, was kind of, well, angry about that. Because, well, he did go to like a really prestigious school back in Germany, so yeah. Anyway, so after Izuku gets to the principal's office, he introduces himself. As Izuku sees a bear, rat, thing, whatever it is, it looks, well, not human, or at least in the Izuku standards. Izuku thinks that it's, well, looks like Izuku almost thought it was like a, well, what do you call it again? A rat man. If you don't know what are those, well, you probably never watched like the Fate series, unless you like, well, gone to one of the events, specifically the Remind You event, which still can't wait to play it, mostly because I want to get You or something, or just get a like the, or just get the event banner pulled mostly because I want to get him. Anyways, so after Izuku introduces himself, this rat bear hybrid thing says this. Oh, hello. I am the principal of the school. You can call me Mr. Nezu. Izuku says this. Alright, so wait for a second. So after Izuku does that, Izuku sits down as Principal Nezu says this. So, what's with your arm over there? As Izuku sees that he's talking about his, well, missing arm. Izuku explains that it was an accident. Izuku lies mostly because he doesn't want to get his cover blown, even though, well, he would probably understand it and also get a little bit concerned, but Izuku just prefers to lie. So, Principal Nezu says this. Okay, anyway, so, you're pretty young for, well, becoming a teacher. I mean, most of our students are basically the same ages as you, or older. So, why? As Izuku explains that he needed to get some, well, get some cash. As he says this. Really? Why? Izuku explains that even though he's, well, pretty loaded, specifically in the bank, well, Izuku wants to earn his own money. As Principal Nezu says this. Okay then. So, can you explain to me what is your quirk? Izuku explains that his quirk is called, well, Fire of Hatred. As Nezu says this. Really? What an interesting name. Can you tell me why is it called that? Izuku explains that the fire gets stronger the more Izuku hates a person. Specifically, the, well, opponent. Izuku's, well, flames, well, burn harder, not harder, I meant hotter the more, well, he hates the opponent. As he says this. Really? Even though it sounds like a villainous quirk, it sounds pretty interesting. Hmm, how about this? How would you just be as a assistant teacher to one of our, well, older, well, one of our older teachers? Hmm? Is that okay? As Ziku says this. Sure, just as long as I have some pay. As he says this. Don't worry, your pay is going to be pretty high. Alright, I'll just have to pick, like, well, the perfect person for you. While Izuku was waiting for, well, Nezu to basically talk again, well, a person comes into the room. As Izuku looks, Izuku sees a muscular man with this almost like V-fin like hairstyle. Like have you seen Gundam? It basically has like well, the V-fin, but except it's made out of hair. Izuku recognizes him as All Might. As Izuku says this. Wait, you're All Might? As he says this. So, who are you, kid? Izuku says this. Well, I'm looking for a job here, so... As he says this. Really? You're going to become a teacher, right? As Izuku says this. Yeah, more like an assistant teacher than anything else. As Nezu says this. Ah, I got it. As Izuku says this. Got what? As he says this. You're gonna be, well, the assistant teacher of Vlad King. Izuku says this. Vlad King? As he says this. Yes, Vlad King, also known as the hero with a vampirism quirk. It's not really a vampirism quirk, it's more like he has the ability to control blood. Specifically, his own blood. As Izuku says this. Interesting. As he says this. Alright, you can go now. You're, well, wait for a second. Your first day on the job is gonna be happening maybe tomorrow or next week. So, just please wait, Mr. Izuku Ironheart? That's your name, right? As Izuku says this, right. As Nazu says this before Izuku leaves. Wait, what's with that name? As Izuku says this. Well, I'm part German, so that's why I have this Ironheart name. As he says this. Oh, okay. So, we can leave now. So, Izuku leaves as he starts going off to the bus stop. I meant bus stop. So, when Izuku was waiting, Izuku sees, well, a familiar girl. As Izuku sees Kendo, as Kendo says this. Wait, Izuku? As Izuku says this. Wait, Kendo? As she says this. What are you doing here? And Izuku says this. Oh, I was just looking for a job. As he says this. Wait, looking for a job? As Izuku says this. Yeah, I applied to, well, for being an assistant teacher. As she says this. That's great. Which school are you actually going to? Well, specifically to work. As Izuku says this. UA High. As she says this. What? Izuku says this. Um, didn't you hear me? It's UA High. She says this. That's where I'm going to school. I recently, well, recently beaten the entrance exam. As Izuku says this. Wait, that was an entrance exam? I never noticed that. As she says this. Yeah, the noises were mostly from the people that failed. As Izuku says this. Huh. That explains all of the screaming. As Izuku says this. Alright, I'll be waiting for the bus. As she says this. Um, can I at least, well, as Izuku says this. Yeah? She says this. Can I at least ride with you? As Izuku says this. Sure. I mean, we're technically gonna be going to the same place, right? As she says this. Yeah. So, when the bus arrives, Izuku gets on, including Kento. So, wait for a second. So, after they go into the bus, they started riding off to their destination. So, when Izuku arrives back at the hotel with, well, with Kendo, she says goodbye, including Izuku going back to his room. So, after Izuku does that, Izuku stretches as Izuku says this. Much better. As one of Izuku's servants, named Chloe, says this. So, did you get the job? Izuku says this. Yeah, pretty easy, but I was a bit afraid. As she says this. Yeah, I was afraid for you. Mostly because I thought you were about to fail. Izuku says this. What does that mean? As she says this. Oh, nothing. As... Wait for a second. As Ishtar says this. Are you trying to insinuate that our master is not going to get that job, Miss Chloe? As Chloe says this. No, I was just thinking that, well, he would probably fail, but I can't believe he actually did it. As Gilgamesh says this. You really think our glorious master would actually lose that great and powerful job? He is the master of Mr. Gilgamesh, King Gilgamesh, the greatest of all heroes, in fact, the first hero. As, well, wait for a second. As Enkidu says this to Gilgamesh, hey, Gilgamesh, please don't antagonize her. I mean, her, well, noble phantasm is quite powerful. As he says this, did you seriously forget Gilgamesh? I meant Gilgamesh, I meant, Enkidu. Did you seriously forget Enkidu? My special sword. I can easily defeat her. As, well, Chloe says this. Oh, you really think that you can beat me? She gets ready to attack Gilgamesh, but before they can attack each other, well, Joan the Ark, aka, well, Joan, says this. Alright, all of you, just behave yourselves. Remember, I'm still the leader of this group, and Well, basically, you're superior, so just all of you just behave and go back to your rooms and get some rest. So, all of them start going back to their rooms, and they basically started, well, basically resting. For Izuku, he starts, drinking. Specifically, some cognac. So, while Izuku was, drinking, Izuku was, well, just watching some TV. As Izuku gets a knock at its door. As Izuku, looks into the door, Izuku sees Mount Lady. As Mount Lady says this to Izuku, "Hey, Izuku, can you let me in?" Izuku opens the door as she says this. "Oh, thank you." And Izuku says this. What is it, Mount Lady? As she says this. "Well, it's about my daughter." Izuku says this. "What about your daughter?" She says this. "Well, my daughter told me that you're actually gonna be attending, the school, specifically UA." As Izuku says this. Yeah, what about it?" As she says this. "Well, I also heard that she said that, you're gonna be an assistant teacher, right?" As Izuku says this. Yeah, what about it?" As she says this. "So, I was just a bit concerned about your arm, because your..." Izuku says this. "What? Oh, that. You really think that I'm actually weak just because I'm, a bit at a bis at a wait for a second at the little thing of being, being only having a one arm? Just just because I only have one arm, I'm weak? Don't underestimate me. Got it?" As when Izuku said that, he said it so menacingly. As Mount Lady says this. Okay. Izuku says this. Anyway, I'll be getting some sleep. As when Mount Lady sees that Izuku was, drinking alcohol, she says this. "Wait, you're drinking, but you're..." As Izuku says this. "Hey, back in Germany, the legal age for drinking is 16, so I don't really give any flying F's at all. I'll just be sleeping." Uh, I feel a bit tired. Izuku just flops onto bed. Just flops onto the bed. As Izuku says this. I feel kinda sleepy. So, after Izuku does that, he falls asleep. So, let's go to a different perspective. A perspective that you, well, well, actually just, let's just start. Why are you doing this? I thought we were friends. So, this girl was talking. This girl was the representative for the rider class, and she was fighting the representative for the assassin class. Wait for a second again. The representative for the assassin class says this. "No, I will gain that holy grail no matter what." As the girl says this. "Uh, why? Just why? Why won't you just..." As the girl was, decapitated, her head rolled, the streets are paved in blood. Several, police officers arrived. As they say this. "Who the hell are you? Are you some sort of villain?" Sorry about that. As the representative for the assassin class says this. My cover's been blown. Oh well." As he grabs onto the hand of the rider class representative and gets her crest. As he says this. "Now, It's all of your. Well, it's all of your turn. It's your turn. All of you shall become my little feast. What do I mean by that? Well, even though servants can, well, generate, um, well, how do I say it? Like mana from, well, from their masters. Well, most servants, or specifically these people, can get more mana by killing people and also eating their hearts. So, yeah. So, when the representative for the assassin class saw, well, them, specifically, well, all of these people, well, he starts smiling under that mask. The skull like mask that he wears. He gets one of his, well, knives, and the other one, and I meant, his other hand wielded a large broadsword. Not really a broadsword, it's more like, actually, his sword is the other sword in his hand is basically the first Hassan's blade. And yes, Izuku's probably gonna get like the first Hassan's, well. So, not persona, I meant servant. God. Anyway, so, when he sees all the cops getting ready to shoot him and capture him, he slices all of the bullets that are shot at him instantly. Like, literally slicing them in half, turning them into nothing more than, well, sliced lead. As he gets his sword and slices all, cutting all of their heads off, decapitating them, and grabbing a cooler and grabs and starts ripping off all of their hearts. One, well, person, or specifically two, were still alive at the time. And these two people are people from a certain news channel. So, when the, well, wait for a second. After the representative of the assassin class left, well, the two, well, people started, well, running and goes back to, well, to the news station as they, well, show off the footage. So, when the people saw, well, this, they instantly start speculating, who is this person? But when Izuku saw the news and sees, well, that, he starts, well, getting ready to fight him. But unfortunately, well, that will be in the next episode of What If Deku was in Fate Grand Order. So, yeah. So, I hope you liked the video. Subscribe and I'll to see you guys next time. Bye bye.